The world came into existence through the work of a non-divine creator. This creation is essentially a simulated system. Another species, having decoded a portion of the simulation's software code, has made modifications, thereby limiting the capabilities of mankind within this test. Essentially, a secondary game has been established within the primary game. Unfortunately, the fictional aspect of this scenario has been tampered with, leading to our current state of imprisonment. This summary condenses the extensive explanations penned by David Icke across multiple brick-sized books. About 30 years ago, Icke came up with outrageous ideas and theories that pushed the boundaries of reason. For a long time, he was mercilessly criticized as a complete nutcase and conspirator. Unfortunately, for many years he was the most ridiculed example of a conspiratorial character. In his own words, 30 years ago, people would sometimes point to him on the street and laugh. But in recent years, the situation has changed. There are so many people on social media and television who talk about his theories as if they were their own thesis, without even mentioning his name, that it is hard not to be surprised. As Icke says, this is a sign of human awakening. 30 years ago, there was laughter when he said that a reptilian race ruled us. But today there are so many people who believe that race has taken human form. But Icke explains his theories in a very logical way. In the simplest terms, he explains how a reptilian can take human form. He explains how this species changes the human DNA over time, how it interferes with the brain structure, how we are discouraged from using our right brain, how we are directed to use our left brain, which is called the rational brain with the dogma of rational thinking, and how they block our inner voice and senses other than our 5 senses. In this 2-part study, we will objectively interpret Icke and these issues. So let's start the video. Hold on tight, because if you're ready, we're going to talk about a very unusual Englishman and his theories. Our hero is David Icke. He is the less educated son of a working-class family in England. He's talented and charismatic. Icke, who was expected to have a very ordinary life plan on paper, came out of his shell with his talent at a very young age and stepped into the professional league as a goalkeeper at the highest level in England, where football is very important. If his success at this age had continued, he would have become famous, loved, and of course, highly paid. But rheumatoid arthritis at the start of his career meant that this was not to be his life path. At the age of 21, when he was a young goalkeeper, his football life was over. In his analysis of this period when he had to quit football years later, he says the following: "Life offers you its greatest gift, sometimes hidden behind terrible nightmares." With his charisma and ambition, he makes a move to overcome this faltering period of his youth. Somehow he makes his way into television, which is the dream of almost every young person, and quickly climbs the ladder to become a sports announcer on one of the most important channels in the country. In 1982, he became a recognized face in his country. 6 or 7 years later, he quit as an announcer and entered politics with the Green Party. But he quickly realizes that he has no place in the cruel world of politics. In his book, he makes the following observation about this: "The majority of votes were decided in the Masonic temple before the council even knew which side to vote for. From the outside, we might criticize this poorly educated man as a man who is quick to give up even when he gets a job, but he actually goes where his heart leads him. At some point in his life he meets a psychic, and this gives him a different kind of vision. He even realizes that an energy around him is helping him, apart from the voice inside him, or so he thinks. After 1990, his life is under the influence of a very different wind. Of course, I don't have the astrological knowledge to know which stars came together for the man to become a colorful personality in his lifeline, and to become famous first in the country, and then worldwide. But it is certain that he has come to leave his mark on the world. In 1990, he wrote his first book called The Truth Vibrations. He has been writing ever since. David Icke visited Peru many years ago. There he had an experience called Kundalini. This experience left a great impression on him. For those who do not know, Let's summarize the Kundalini experience briefly as follows. An energy begins to flow from the top of our head that we have never felt before, and this energy flows through our whole body and empties through the lowest chakra at the bottom of the spine. According to the yoga literature, Kundalini is the energy at the base of the spine, coiled like a snake. When this energy awakens, it enters the spine and rises upwards. The experiencer sees or perceives it as a snake-like light. When it goes up into the head, the light penetrates into the head like a rod. So it creates a perception, as if the energy is going upwards through the skull. When this happens, the person is said to be enlightened. It is said that these people also attain their higher self. They may also have psychic, healing, or clairvoyant abilities. According to the esteemed author Itzhak Benthnoff, whom I have mentioned in my previous videos, very extreme Kundalini experiences push the boundaries of schizophrenia. Since modern medicine cannot understand this, many people are sent to mental institutions. Yes, after such a shocking experience, David Icke experiences a complete transformation. In his own way, he opens his eyes. That is, he wakes up. After that, he starts to question the world order. With great skepticism, he looks for a hidden plan behind every occurrence or event. When I examined his books, I realized that he had some very extreme theories that I had never heard of before. But his search for a mystery and conspiracy behind everything and his presentation of theses that connect his conspiracies reaches the level of paranoia in many places. After all, even though he started to realize things in the 1990s, there were already researchers who had voiced Icke's observations 10 or 15 years before him. Those who say that they have realized that there is an unknown structure behind the world order usually follow the same sequence. First, they say that the Jews rule the world. Then, over time, their thoughts change and they embrace the idea that it is not the Jews, but some big families that rule the world. Then they say that it is not these families either, there is a power behind them too. When they reach this stage, the awakened ones, or conspirators as they are called in the media, come up with their final thesis. Some of them say that aliens are ruling us. The other part says that there is not an alien but a species that lives with us on this earth, but is not Adamic. David Icke is a believer in this second view. He says that there is another species living here with us, and they are reptilian creatures. I have been hearing this for 30 years, and I am sure you have heard it many times. But David Icke has some very logical arguments that make him different from other conspiracists. Let's take a look at some of the most interesting ones. Icke, who goes back to the origins of the great conspiracy on the world and examines the Sumerian and Babylonian civilizations, says that a lineage originating from there established the global mechanism through the Rothschild family. Now Icke surprises us with a very different information. Look how he explains it. We are led to believe that the Rothschild family is descended from the Jews in the Pearl, and therefore originates from Egypt and Israel in the Torah. This is not true. They are of Sumerian origin. The Sumerians and Babylonians migrated to the north, to the Caucasus Mountains, and the land that is now Georgia. Dr. Sandor Nagy, in his book The Forgotten Cradle of Hungarian Culture, explains that two separate Sumerian peoples came out of Mesopotamia. One of them traveled through Turkey to the Balkans, which today reaches Hungary, while the other Sumerian people went east and then north, over the Caucasus Mountains and between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. These people later lived in the Khazar state or Khazars, a country founded by Turkic tribes from the east. In 740 AD, the king of Khazaria converted to Judaism along with his people. Following the fall of Khazaria, the Jewish population migrated to the north. They founded Jewish committees in Eastern Europe. Later, some of them moved to Western Europe. Among them was the family that later took the surname Rothschild. For centuries, they lived under various names. Bauer was one of these names. The Khazars are the ancestors of the 90% of the population who call themselves Jews today. and they have nothing to do with the land called Israel. Their homeland is not the Dead Sea, but the Caspian Sea. What David Icke said was already written in the 1970s by the famous Jewish writer Arthur Koestler in his best-selling book The 13th Tribe. According to this view, the majority of the people we call Jews today are Sumerians. The Sumerians are not Semites. Therefore, anti-Semitic is not a term related to Jews. The Rothschild clan and those around them know this very well. The establishment of today's Israel is also completely related to this lineage. In other words, it was founded with the great planning of blue blood. Maybe it will sound absurd to you, but even the Second World War was a game that this clan had planned. Because the Jews in Europe, these Khazar-looking Sumerians, refused to go and settle in Palestine. At the time when the Zion Protocols were made, they said, "Let us give money, but let us not go to those lands." So the Great Massacre was planned. First, Lenin, a Sumerian Jew, was brought to Vienna, Austria, and trained for 2 years in an apartment. After he left, the same apartment was allocated to another pawn, Adolf Hitler. Turkish writer Aytunç Altındal gave us this valuable information before his death. You can see it in his book, Unknown Hitler. After their training, Lenin and Hitler started their mission with the support of this secret power. The Great War was staged. The Jews of Sumerian origin in Europe, who said that we should give money but not go to Palestine, kissed the soil when they arrived in the State of Israel, which was established during and immediately after the war, because they had barely escaped with their lives. Jacob Rothschild, the head of the Rothschild family, who died recently, made the statement confirming what I have said. He said that we founded Israel. In short, this Anunnaki lineage used and still uses the Jews and Israel as a front. Now let's go to a completely different place. Saudi Arabia. The Saudi family is the false face of the Rothschild dynasty. So this family is neither Arab nor Muslim. The origins of the Saudi family can be traced back to an influential and secretive Jew named Mordecai ibn Abraham ibn Moshe. According to researchers, in ancient times, members of the Arab al-Masali clan encountered Mordecai bin Moshe in Basra, which is now located in Iran. Although Mordecai identified as Jewish, he pretended to belong to their clan and explained that he had settled in Basra for personal familial reasons. He expressed his desire to accompany them on their journey to Nasht in Arabia. Upon reaching Nasht, Mordecai changed his name and took up residence in the city of Aldria, which is officially recognized as the birthplace of the modern Saudi family. Historical evidence suggests that Mordecai managed to gain the support of Bedouin tribes and proclaimed himself king. However, his ascension to power faced opposition from certain tribes who launched an attack on Aldria. This forced Mordecai to flee and seek refuge in a nearby farm near Al-Arid, the present-day capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. After around 1 month, Mordecai resorted to killing the farmer, falsely accusing thieves of the crime and seizing control of the farm. He renamed it Aldria, after the place he was initially displaced from. Mordecai, through a combination of violence, deception, and murder, successfully amassed wealth and authority. Subsequently, he constructed a fabricated narrative linking himself to the Prophet Muhammad and the Arab nobility, solidifying his position of influence. Mordecai's son, Al-Maraka, adopted the Jewish name Makran and had 2 children, namely Muhammad and Saud. Hence, this lineage provided the foundation for the notable Saudi dynasty, as per researchers. The Saudi family continued their path of theft and bloodshed until they gained complete control over the Arabian Peninsula. Some believe that the Saudi family resembles a fascist dictatorship, as described by David Icke. Upon examining the histories of both families in the accompanying video, one will comprehend the unimaginable power and manipulation through which these families obtained their grip on global affairs, an order that profoundly exploits humanity. See you later on the second part.